This video is about an incident that took place on the 12th of October 1972 when Queen Elizabeth II visited the University of Stirling. It should have been a run-of-the-mill visit, but it made headline news the next day. The Daily Mirror reported what happened like this. The Queen was surrounded by a frightening mob of drunken students who swore and chanted obscenities yesterday. Throughout a 4-hour royal visit to Stirling University, groups of students, drinking from wine bottles and beer cans, pushed and jostled the royal party. They clambered over flower beds and parked cars, made two-finger gestures, shouted, "Queen out!" and "Go home, ya hun." The Guardian described it as probably the most hostile and rowdy reception the Queen has ever experienced in Britain. What was the background to the visit? The University of Stirling was a new university, founded 5 years previously in 1967. Facilities had been pretty basic in those early years, but in 1972 the Cottrell Building, the main teaching block, had been completed, and the Queen was going to formally open Queen's Court, a courtyard at the heart of the campus. Her host would be Tom Cottrell, the principal and the co-founder of the university. Tom Cottrell was a visionary who had turned his dream of a radically new university into a reality. The Queen had lunch with Tom Cottrell. She unveiled a plaque commemorating her visit. She was given a mini tour of the university. There was a large crowd of staff, students and locals to cheer her. A student protest had been planned. The reason given was that students objected to the amount of money being spent on the Queen's visit. It was said to be costing the university £1,200, but the real figure may have been up to 10 times that amount. Students believed the money should have been spent on books and equipment and on the provision of social spaces, of which there was a conspicuous lack in those early days. We need to distinguish between protesting and non-protesting students, because although 400 students were said to be protesting, that still left 1,600 who were not. There was a sit-in in the foyer of the McRoberts Centre by the protesting students. Then they occupied a nearby room. They banged on the windows. They heckled and jeered and barracked. Obscene chants and songs were heard. As she was being shown round by Tom Cottrell, the Queen took it upon herself to go on an unscheduled detour across the footbridge towards the halls of residence. This bridge spans Airtree Loch, a beautiful loch at the heart of the beautiful Stirling University campus. It was on the Airtree Loch Bridge that the Queen encountered Jackie McKee, a 34-year-old third-year sociology student. It was pure luck that Jackie McKee happened to be on the bridge. Earlier he had been in Queen's Court, but a policeman who didn't like the look of him told him to make himself scarce. Jackie McKee had complied with the request and removed himself to the footbridge on the other side of the university, and it was therefore through no fault of his own that his path was now about to cross with that of the Queen's. He was standing with other students on the bridge and drinking from a bottle of wine. As the Queen and her party passed in front of him, he raised the bottle and gave the Gaelic toast, Slàinte, good health. This moment was captured by a photographer, and the photograph found its way onto the front page of the following day's newspapers, and became the abiding image of the Queen's visit. The Queen completed her tour, but the police had great difficulty getting Her Majesty away at the end of the visit, as students on the rampage mobbed the royal car. The incident created newspaper headlines the next day, and not just in Britain, but throughout the world. The satirical magazine Private Eye did not miss the opportunity to have some fun over the whole embarrassing incident. The university authorities were of course horrified by the rowdy behaviour of the students and the negative publicity it brought. Thousands of pounds of funding was withdrawn because of the bad publicity. The local community in Stirling and Bridge of Allan, embarrassed at the disrespect shown to the Queen, turned against the students. Porters and cleaners at the university refused to serve students. Shopkeepers in Bridge of Allan refused to serve students. Buses refused to stop at the university. Overnight, Stirling had gone from being a relatively new, small and obscure university to an institution at the forefront of radical student politics. Tom Cottrell's vision had been radical, all right, but only in the sense of a radical new approach to teaching and learning. Now all his great work over the previous few years seemed to be put in jeopardy. A search for the perpetrators was launched, and 24 of the ringleaders were identified. Disciplinary charges were brought against them. Those charged included Linda Quinn, the president of the Students' Association at the time, although she had not personally been involved in the disturbances. Jackie McKee was charged with drinking from a bottle, which act was abusive and discourteous to the Queen and her accompanying party. There was criticism, though, of Tom Cottrell from within the university. Some regarded him as a stubborn man whose unresponsiveness to the grievances of the students was the ultimate cause of the disturbances. But Tom Cottrell had done all he could to deal with the riot itself. He had asked the police to disperse the students. But the palace authorities had told the police there was no danger to the Queen, and so the students weren't dispersed. Here, I think Cottrell showed that he understood the incident better than anyone else, and that the rowdy behaviour needed to be nipped in the bud as soon as possible. It wasn't just a matter of security for the Queen. The bad publicity would produce long-term negative consequences for the university in terms of its finances and its reputation. The behaviour of Her Majesty may have played a role in the students not being dispersed. In footage taken at the time, she is to be seen behaving in a very animated way, smiling broadly and apparently unperturbed. The palace later claimed the Queen had had an interesting and a good day. In the Jackie McKee picture, she is beaming away, but notice how no one else is. Tom Cottrell is looking very uncomfortable and embarrassed at the behaviour of the loutish students. The Queen possibly realised that this was a nightmare for Tom Cottrell and was trying to make light of the situation in order not to make her host feel too uncomfortable. Her apparently relaxed attitude to the situation may have persuaded her security people that she was not alarmed and that there was no danger. But it was very uncharacteristic of the monarch, who was usually stony-faced at public events, to appear to be so relaxed. I think she might have been secretly frightened by the intimidating mob of drunken students, and was overcompensating with the big smiles. Many years later, she met someone from Stirling University and said, "Is Stirling still as wild as it was?" The university was divided in its reaction to the incident. Some thought the students were fully to blame and that the perpetrators should face expulsion. Many students were embarrassed by the disruption and signed a petition apologising to the Queen. One third-year student said later that he hadn't recognised any of the rioters and presumed that most of them were first-years, unused to drinking. Others thought that the students had a right to protest, that Tom Cottrell's refusal to listen to student grievances had precipitated the disruption, and that his handling of the whole affair was poor. Left-wing academics sided with the students in their opposition to the way Cottrell was dealing with the disciplining of the rioters. The Students' Association organised sit-ins when their leaders were facing expulsions. After several months of unrest, all charges were dropped, including those against Linda Quinn and Jackie McKee. Jackie McKee went on to become a sociology lecturer at Napier University and did his best to put the whole incident behind him. No drunken student ever paid a price for the rowdy behaviour. The only person who paid a price was Tom Cottrell, who died of a heart attack just 8 months after the Queen's visit. Everyone seems agreed that the stress of the incident and its acrimonious aftermath contributed to his early death at the age of 49. At the end of the day, although this story on the surface is about the Queen being given a hostile reception by a bunch of drunkards, the tragic subplot is how this shameful incident destroyed the university's visionary founder, its principal, and the greatest figure in its history. It was somewhere around about here on this bridge that the Queen encountered Jackie McKee leaning up against the bridge there. Angela.
You have to do projects like this. This person is working.
This university has changed an awful lot since I was here in the 1980s. The main building over there is now called Campus Central. It's been totally revamped, refurbished. It's unrecognizable from the place I knew back then. But the campus itself is still recognizable, still beautiful loch, beautiful trees, and it's a wonderful place to study.